Elite Facts presents
7 Ways of Life in Ancient Egypt.
7.
Lice was so bad that people just gave up on hair. Hey, we didn't say that all these ways of life were going to be innovative and intriguing. There's a fair few disgusting facts on here as well. Take this one, for example. Ever wondered why not many lithographs of people from ancient Egypt have hair? That's because most people shaved their heads in ancient Egypt. Not only do we know this from pictures, but they are known records written by people in other countries who looked at Egypt's fashion choices and puzzled over why Egyptians thought going bald was such a great look. Today, though, historians are pretty sure they know why. Lice was everywhere in ancient Egypt. The tombs of Egyptian rulers are literally crawling with lice to this very day, apparently flooding out from the remains of the bodies. That's not to say that they didn't try getting rid of the lice, as the ancient Egyptians had lice remedies, but they either didn't work or weren't worth the hassle. Most people got so fed up with the nationwide infestation that both men and women shaved every hair clean off of their bodies. As for women, they could usually shave the hair off their heads and replace it with wigs, hair that could be discarded when it got infected, while some others just went around completely shaved from head to toe. And we're sorry if you suddenly feel the need to scratch your head.
6.
They were obsessed with hygiene. Despite the lice infestation, the ancient Egyptians were actually quite obsessed with personal hygiene. The ancient Egyptians have been well documented for their cleanliness. As a society, they were terrified of disease and correctly made the connection between poor hygiene and illness. They bathed frequently and made soaps from animal and vegetable oils mixed with alkaline salts. As previously stated, both men and women would shave their head and body hair to avoid getting lice, and even gold razors were discovered in tombs, along with tweezers. They also liked looking and smelling good. The Egyptians concocted many different perfumes using ingredients like lily, myrrh, and cardamom. They are thought to have created the first deodorant with a combination of citrus and cinnamon.
5.
The pharaohs were horribly obese. Yeah, in all those pictures found that date back to ancient Egypt, you'd think otherwise, but pharaohs were in fact morbidly obese. Very similar to what Henry VIII did towards the end of his life, most drawings and paintings of pharaohs show them as thin, muscular people, but that couldn't be further from the truth. The pharaohs ordered their artists to make them look pretty, but the real bodies found left behind tell a different story. So in reality, if you were a member of royalty, you were in for a treat when dinner time would roll around, because it's been recorded that many members of the Egyptian royalty were massively overweight. Egyptian rulers had terrible diets. Their priests were ordered to prepare 3 banquets each day, all overflowing with wine, beef, and cake. They would absolutely demolish meals and snacks filled with saturated fats all day long. Mummies have been found with clogged arteries, bulging bellies, and massive fat folds. Obesity was a reality for Egyptian pharaohs. 4. The living shared food with the dead? If we're being perfectly honest, for the most part, we have never seen a civilization that treats the dead with more respect than the ancient Egyptians. Regardless of if they could put their loved ones into a sarcophagus or not, they tried their best to preserve their families' bodies. So respectful, in fact, that they'd actually try and attempt to feed the dead. Back then, there were tombs that were designed as an eternal home for the mummified body and the Ka spirit that lived beside it. An accessible tomb chapel allowed families, well-wishers, and priests to visit the deceased and leave the regular offerings that the Ka required, while a hidden burial chamber protected the mummy from harm. Within the tomb chapel, food and drink were offered on a regular basis. The reasoning behind this is because of these bodies having been spiritually consumed by the Ka. They were then physically consumed by the living. During the Feast of the Valley, an annual festival of death and renewal, many families spent the night in the tomb chapels of their ancestors. The hours of darkness were spent drinking and feasting by torchlight as the living celebrated their reunion with the dead. Granted, this is a bit creepy, yet it's kind of touching in a way to see so much respect given to the deceased.
3.
The Great Pyramid was not built by slaves. Despite popular belief, the pyramids were in fact not built by the slaves. This rumor circulated all in thanks to classical historian Herodotus, as he believed that the Great Pyramid had been built by 100,000 slaves. His image of men, women, and children desperately toiling in the harshest of conditions has proved remarkably popular with modern filmmakers and production companies. This, however, is untrue. Archaeological evidence indicates that the Great Pyramid was in fact built by a workforce of 5,000 permanent, salaried employees and up to 20,000 temporary workers. These workers were free men summoned under the corvée system of national service to put in a 3 or 4 month shift on the building site before returning home. These workers were housed in a temporary camp near the pyramid so that they had a place to stay while the job was still active, and they also received payment in the form of food, drink, and medical attention. As for those who pass away on duty, well, they're given a respectable burial in the nearby cemetery.
2,
Their minds were where their hearts were. Okay, yes, that is a weird statement, but let us elaborate further. While the ancient Egyptians understood many things about anatomy, they weren't exactly correct about how their organs worked and what their main purposes and functions were. For example, they believed that the heart, or the ib, was where thought originated from within the body. They also thought it was the center of love, sadness, and bravery, images that remained in the popular conscience until modern times. So what did ancient Egyptians think of the brain? Well, nothing. They thought the brain was pretty useless. So useless, in fact, that they would discard the brain during the mummification process.
1,
Men and women wore lead-based makeup. So it's common knowledge that pretty much anyone with wealth in ancient Egypt wore makeup. Men, women, children, it didn't matter. Ancient Egyptian men were not shy about wearing a little makeup. The main cosmetic in question is lead-based eyeliner. Eye makeup was made by grinding ores into a substance known as coal. Although it's now widely accepted that lead products are toxic to humans, research has shown that these cosmetics had a high concentration of nitric oxide. Nitric oxide is a compound that boosts the immune system and fights off disease, meaning that this ancient eye makeup could potentially help stave off eye infections. And that's our list. Did we leave any out that you know about? Well, let us know in the comments below. And please remember to subscribe and tap the bell button to be notified when new videos are uploaded. Thanks for watching.
Don't forget to like us and subscribe for more elite facts.